the social distancing, coronavirus. It's just so much. So here in this video, I'm going to talk about the ways that I'm handling it. I'm going to share some ways to get you out of these funks. We went live yesterday over on Instagram, and I realized that the main thing that my community needs right now is motivation, because everyone is burning out. I'm going to be giving you some highlights from the live. You're going to hear a bunch of the different situations that people are finding themselves in that are getting a little bit discouraging. So let's read some of these right now. It's difficult to focus at home as a first-year MSW student. My graduation for my BSW was postponed indefinitely. Stressors, I'm sharing these because I want you all to know that you're not alone in these. My MSW program in NYC is starting in May and canceled all internships. Not a great start. And I know this is something where we're really put on pause, and I don't think we've ever had any type of pause like this before. Some of us have, maybe in our own lifestyles, if we're dealing with different illnesses, we maybe have had these disruptions in our lives before. But really this pause, we want to ask, in this time, are we being called to become who we were meant to be? In this pause, what can we do with this time in order to rise up? Same thing for my clients. So if I could share with you very briefly how I'm dealing with this, what I'm going through is I'm trying to motivate high schoolers that have already felt a lack of motivation just before all this hit, but that are really hard on themselves. I'm trying to get them motivated to keep going. And the way I'm doing that is telling them to take things one day at a time and to literally do one task at a time to the best of their ability. Honestly, no one is expecting you to shine like a bright star out here during these times. If you were doing that, bravo for you, but no one's expecting that. There is a lot of leeway. I think there's a lot of administrators and higher ups that are really going to consider the fact that people are trying to learn from home or work from home through a pandemic, through an uncertain time, through a scary time, to be honest. So take a deep breath, do what you can, and go slow with yourself. Be patient with yourself. That's what we need to learn during this whole social distancing, is how to take care of ourselves, how to honor our beings, and how to press pause. This isn't the end. This is pressing pause. And maybe in this pause, we will have the ability to achieve, to become that vision of ourselves, that dream, that little part of ourselves that we've always envisioned becoming. Maybe this pause is that time to get closer to that person. I'm going to keep on reading a few more. So I feel like with this class of 20 and 21, these two classes, you all are really getting the gist of trust the process. Because really, during these times, we really have to ask ourselves, instead of asking why is this happening? Why do I have to be going through this? We really need to switch all of those whys to what. Think about it. In a therapy session, we wouldn't use the word why anyway. If you've heard this cancel why out of the therapy session script, please give me a thumbs up right now, because that's one of the first things I learned in therapy. And honestly, I was wondering, why? The reason is, why causes someone to get very defensive. We never want to ask a client why, because we might put up that brick wall even higher if it's there, or start building it up if it's not there. And then it can also bring up feelings of anxiety and feelings of self-doubt, which is what we don't want to happen, especially in times of uncertainty. So instead of asking why, we switch the script to the word what. What am I going to do about this? What is it about my situation that I can change? There are different ways to ask the same question that are going to get more of a successful result. So when we flip that switch to what, then we can create action steps to pull ourselves out of the funk that we might be in. Someone mentioned, I went on maternity leave right before, she put right before she hit the fan, so feel like I abandoned my patients. And that's the feeling of guilt that is coming up for a lot of us, is when we are feeling comfortable at home, when we have the food and the access to the resources that we need, and our clients don't. There's a lot of guilt that might come up across here, and just being able to sit with that and realize that, and not going into a Superman complex and trying to save everybody. Hi Chase. but just trying your best to really think systemically, think of where you can be of best service, and then also think of how we can hopefully impact the bigger system, thinking more macro in these senses. How do we advocate? How do we not have history repeat itself? Honestly, guys, a lot of the things that we're worried about right now are systemic issues in our society that have been there from the beginning. Some of these issues are things we've been advocating and trying to shed light on. COVID-19, social distancing, this whole pandemic that we're in right now is shedding light on that. It's bringing our messages up to the forefront, and we have to be okay with that. Some people didn't know that these issues with food resources and lack of healthcare, some people didn't realize that they were there, that they were true, and now that we're seeing them on a wider level, we hopefully will get some action here. So really everything that we've been advocating for and voicing and trying to bring up to the light is now at the surface, and it cannot be ignored anymore. If anything, these are the silver linings to what is happening right now in our world. We're able to see all the injustice, all of the gaps in our services. We're able to take a pause, work on our self-care, true self-care, not the bubble baths and the naps and the fancy eating out or cooking type of self-care, but the inner work that needs to be done in order to ground ourselves, in order to see a better future. And that's the trick to all of this social distancing and this time of self-quarantine, is being able to find the positives within the negatives. We can turn on the news and hear the negatives all day long. I don't recommend that you do that, but what I do recommend is that you flip that switch again, you flip that script, right? And you take this time to find the silver lining. You take this time to find the good. And we can do that through affirmations. I'm going to have a whole affirmation list over on my Instagram that is complete for this community. That's a big thing that I'm leaning on right now during this social distancing and self-quarantine. So trying to set boundaries when work and home become one. This is one that I've gotten a lot of people really wondering how I'm doing that. I do the bulk of my work actually in the afternoons, and that's because I'm starting where my clients are. My clients are up usually around, I'd say 10:30 to noonish is when they're waking up, and then they are messaging me and contacting me at all hours. I was up until about 10:30 yesterday still responding to some of them. So I see where that's hard, especially if you work with high schoolers or adult clients. Our clients understand, but we really have to set timers for yourself. That's what I would suggest, is set timers for yourself in order to know when you're done for the day. Let's go through some of the work ones. Struggling to find a quiet place to conduct my work from home. People know, as I mentioned before, we don't have a magic wand. They know that a lot of the things that we're dealing with right now are gonna be tricky. We need to give ourselves a break. If there's a child running around in the background of our Zoom meeting, of our telephone therapy session, if there's anything like that, we need to just give ourselves that break, give ourselves that lax, because our clients need to know that we're human too. That humanizes us, and that's not a bad thing. They realize that we're not robots existing in the perfect world, that we're also going through this with them. Recommendations for contacting students and families. I'm having very little luck. Honestly, I feel like the students nowadays, at least high school or middle school and up, are going to be more reactive and going to respond more to text messages, because they will not answer phone numbers that they don't recognize. That's what I've seen. They are not doing Zoom very much. And I also created an Instagram account for my students, for my campus. I created an Instagram account. There's nothing confidential that goes up on there. It's simply informational, so that I can get information out to them. So someone mentioned, any suggestions on how to acknowledge and celebrate high school seniors, since they most likely, I'm guessing their graduation is going to be postponed. My campus is going to record a celebratory video. We typically do this on my campus anyway. We hoot and holler and cheer, and we're going to probably do a video type of thing with that, and then send it to the students whenever they earn a credit, whenever they're getting closer to graduation. I celebrate them on our campus Instagram page. They love to see their pictures out there. They love to communicate with each other on there. It's a safe space for them to do so with their friends. Thank you to all of those that participated in this conversation live and here in the comments. Please, if you haven't commented yet, drop it down below. What is the silver lining that you have found here? So that this way over on Instagram, we have all of the fears, all of the concerns, and here on YouTube, our community is growing not only that authenticity with what we are concerned about at this time, but also the silver lining that we're finding here. So I challenge my YouTube community to do that. And I hope that you do take this time to pause, reflect, work on yourselves, become the best you, the dream version of you that you've been seeing, because I know it's there. And that's how I'm going to end this video today. As always, I'm wishing you social work success. Bye-bye, guys. Why is this going to... lost my train of thought. What, distance learning, self-quarantine? The reason is, what is it that's making me feel so unmotivated? That came out weird.